Welcome back to NHL Connections Point Shots. First off, I want to apologize to everybody out there for missing last Friday's episode. Unfortunately, I'm in the process of moving between cities. Currently in the process of packing up my stuff here in Edmonton, moving back to Calgary. Time is not something that I have a lot of right now. So for the duration of the playoffs, unfortunately we're going to have to move to one edition of NHL Connections Point Shots per week. My goal is to have those out for you guys every Tuesday, as I have been doing. So once again, my apologies for having to cut the number of episodes, but unfortunately I don't have any other choice right now. Anyways, let's get right into hockey. This week, my focus is on the Phoenix Coyotes. With the Detroit Red Wings on the brink of eliminating the Coyotes from the 2011 Stanley Cup playoffs, the future of the Phoenix Coyotes is very much up in the air. If you've been listening to the news at all over the past few weeks, many sources have been discussing the possibility of the Coyotes moving out of the desert in Phoenix all the way back up north to Winnipeg, where they originated from. From 1972 to 1996, the Winnipeg Jets existed as both a WHA franchise from 1972 to 1979 and an NHL franchise from 1979 through 1996. In 1996, the Jets then moved away from Manitoba, south of the border, into Arizona, where they became the Phoenix Coyotes. Now, that franchise has been in Phoenix for nearly 15 full years now and has seen very little success, both in terms of on-ice product as well as in terms of profitability. This season, the Coyotes have seen attendance woes far worse than any other team that is struggling to bring people through the gates in the NHL. Numerous occasions during the first half of the season, the Coyotes barely even scraped to 10,000 in attendance at the Jobbing.com arena. Now, while that was earlier in the season, last night in the Coyotes' first playoff game in the 2011 NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, the Jobbing.com arena in Phoenix was sold out. Is the support there for the Coyotes in Phoenix? If you look at last night, absolutely. If you look at the entire season or the entire 15-year period of the Coyotes in Phoenix, it can't be said quite as easily that there is the support in the desert for the Coyotes. Now, I'm of the opinion that the NHL should be pulling the plug on the Phoenix Coyotes. They've had 15 seasons to try and establish themselves in the desert, try and build a strong, dedicated following. Now, don't get me wrong, I sympathize and I feel terrible for those Coyotes fans in Phoenix who are supportive of the team, who have been there since day one. But in the end, there's not that many. There aren't enough dedicated supporters in the desert to keep this team afloat. There are too many bandwagoners, too many people who are wishy-washy fans that come and go with the team's success on the ice. If you're going to run a successful National Hockey League franchise, you need a strong base of season ticket holders, a strong base of dedicated fans. And right now, that does not exist in Phoenix. If after 15 years it doesn't exist, how much longer are you going to wait to try and establish that? I'm of the opinion that the NHL absolutely needs to pull the plug on this experiment at this point in time. Cut ties, move the team to a new place where there is the support and they will have the opportunity to succeed. The Hockey News recently reported that there is a deal in place for the Coyotes to be sold for $200 million to a new ownership based out of Winnipeg, Manitoba. The way that the deal is broken down, it appears as though $140 million will be required to purchase the franchise from the National Hockey League, who are the current owners. The additional $60 million in this deal is the rumored price tag that the NHL has set on renovations required for the MTS Center in Winnipeg in order for it to be an NHL-ready building. This $60 million would help add a total of approximately 2,500 seats to the MTS Center. Currently, as it stands, the MTS Center has a capacity of approximately 15,000, which is definitely a little bit below average NHL standards. Add the additional 2,500 seats, you get up to 17,500. And for those who don't know, one of the smaller buildings in the NHL currently standing is Rexall Place here in Edmonton, which holds approximately 16,500 fans. So 17,005 in the MTS Center, it would still be a little bit lower than most buildings, but it would be an acceptable standard based on the NHL's requirements. As I stated earlier, I am of the opinion that the Coyotes should be moved, and I do feel as though they should be relocated to Winnipeg. You have a dedicated fan base there. They've been clamoring for a team for years. There's an ownership group in place, ready and willing to put the money into the franchise in order to bring professional hockey at an NHL level back to Manitoba. The one concern that I have is that I do not know whether or not there will be enough corporate sponsorship in Winnipeg in order to support this franchise. That being said, the ownership group does seem to think that they have the corporate sponsorship that would be required in order to run this franchise. In the end, I think it's time for a fresh start for the Coyotes. When you watch a National Hockey League game on TV, you want to see the stands full. You want to see people having a good time. You want to see passionate fans cheering on their team night in and night out. The Coyotes don't have that. Too many nights this year, I've watched a game featuring the Coyotes from jobbing.com arena where half the stands are empty. It's disheartening for the players. It's disheartening for fans in other cities. It's tough to watch a franchise flounder the way that the Coyotes have floundered. With Game 4 of the Red Wings and Coyotes first round series set for 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time tomorrow night, we very well could see the final game that the Phoenix Coyotes ever play from jobbing.com arena. Whether they push their first round series to a 5th game back in the Motor City, that's yet to be seen, but I honestly don't see this series going much further than 5 games the way that the Red Wings have controlled the play. I do think that an announcement will come once the Stanley Cup finals have been concluded in June. So keep your eyes peeled, keep listening to what you're hearing out there. There's a lot of talk going on despite the fact that this issue likely won't be formally resolved for another couple months, but it should be interesting to see how things develop. So I've given you a few of my opinions, a few of my thoughts today on the future of the Phoenix Coyotes and on the viability of moving them to Winnipeg, Manitoba. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Our question of the day today is, do you think a National Hockey League franchise would be successful in Winnipeg, Manitoba? Leave your responses and comments right below here. And once again, as I stated at the start of the episode, we will be moving to a 1 episode per week schedule due to time restraints. I look forward to talking with you guys again next Tuesday. Until then, enjoy the rest of the first round.